In the world of sports cars, legends aren't born every day. They're engineered, tested, and refined on the world's toughest racetracks before earning their place in history. And today, we're looking at one that's already stirring up the automotive scene like a thunderstorm on the Nürburgring, the 2026 Porsche 911 GT3 S. Porsche has always been about precision, heritage, and a level of driving purity that most modern performance cars can only dream of. But with the GT3 S, they've gone beyond refinement. They've built a machine that feels like the spiritual link between road and race car, wrapped in an unmistakable 911 silhouette. At first glance, the GT3 S looks familiar. That iconic shape hasn't changed drastically over decades, and Porsche knows not to mess with a masterpiece. But this time there's an aggressive twist. The front end is lower, sharper, and aerodynamically smarter than ever. Air channels cut through the bumper with surgical precision, feeding the giant rear wing with exactly the pressure it needs. Porsche says every vent, every contour, even the new front splitter isn't for show. It's for speed, stability, and downforce. And when you see it from the back, that swan-neck wing towering over the engine bay tells you everything you need to know. This car isn't here to cruise. It's here to conquer. Underneath that rear deck lid sits the heart of the beast, a naturally aspirated 4.2-liter flat-six engine that revs like it's possessed by motorsport demons. Porsche has squeezed out 565 horsepower from this engine, a figure that might not sound wild in a world of twin-turbo supercars. But remember, this is all pure, naturally aspirated power. No turbo lag, no artificial boost. Just raw mechanical fury that builds and builds until you hit an ear-shattering 9,500 RPM redline. The GT3 S sings through titanium exhausts, and at full throttle, it doesn't sound like a car. It sounds like an orchestra of precision-cut metal and unfiltered passion. Power goes to the rear wheels through Porsche's most advanced 7-speed PDK dual-clutch gearbox. It's lightning fast, but what really matters here is the feedback. Every shift feels like a pulse through your fingertips, and if you're one of the purists still begging for a manual, Porsche's got your back. A 6-speed manual is available for the true believers. With launch control engaged, the GT3 S rockets from 0 to 60 mph in just 2.8 seconds, and the speed doesn't stop there. Keep your foot down, and you're looking at a top speed north of 200 mph, 202 to be exact. But numbers alone can't describe how alive this car feels when you're behind the wheel. Inside, the GT3 S is a blend of Porsche minimalism and motorsport intensity. Everything you touch has purpose. Alcantara wraps the steering wheel and shifter. The seats, carbon fiber shells straight out of a GT3 Cup car, hug you like a race harness, keeping you planted when the G-forces kick in. There's no unnecessary clutter, no oversized infotainment screens stealing your attention. Porsche wants your eyes on the road, your hands on the wheel, and your heart syncing with the revs. Still, the digital instrument cluster gives you exactly what you need. Lap timers, tire pressure, G-force data, everything tuned for precision driving. It's a cockpit for warriors, not commuters. And when it comes to handling, the 2026 GT3 S feels like it's telepathic. The steering isn't just sharp, it's alive. You feel every millimeter of the road through the hydraulic rack, and Porsche's adaptive suspension reads corners like a novel, adjusting damping in milliseconds. Add in rear-wheel steering and a near-perfect 43/57 weight balance, and the GT3 S doesn't just attack corners, it devours them. On a twisty mountain road or a racetrack, this car makes you believe you're part of the machine. It's confidence-inspiring, but it demands respect. Push too hard and it'll remind you who's boss. Drive it right, and it rewards you with an experience so visceral it's borderline spiritual. Braking performance matches its power. Massive carbon ceramic discs paired with 6-piston front calipers stop the GT3 S like it hit an invisible wall, all while staying cool lap after lap. Porsche's engineers claim fade is practically non-existent, and real-world testing backs that up. You can push it hard for hours, and it'll keep performing with the same relentless consistency. Even the aerodynamics play a role in braking, as that giant rear wing adds downforce under deceleration, keeping the car stable and centered. But while the GT3 S is built for the track, Porsche hasn't forgotten that this car still has to survive real-world driving. The ride, though firm, is surprisingly livable. Switch the drive mode to normal, and the adaptive dampers soften up just enough to make city driving tolerable. The exhaust quiets down, and the car becomes a surprisingly docile 911 until you twist the mode selector again and unleash its wild side. That's the genius of the GT3 S. It's a dual personality. It's brutal when you want it to be and composed when you need it to be. Now, let's talk about price. Porsche hasn't officially confirmed it yet, but insiders expect the GT3 S to start around $230,000 USD, before options, of course. And with Porsche's legendary customization program, that price can climb quickly. Carbon roof? Add $10,000. PCCB brakes? Another $9,000. Paint to sample finish? Around $13,000. And yet people will line up, deposits ready, because a Porsche 911 GT3 S isn't just a car. It's a statement. It's an invitation into one of the most respected clubs in automotive history. Compared to rivals like the Ferrari 296 GTB or the McLaren Artura, the Porsche 911 GT3 S might seem underpowered or less exotic. But what those cars gain in technology and flash, the Porsche wins back in feel, reliability, and timelessness. Where the Ferrari flirts with hybrid complexity, the GT3 S stays gloriously analog. A reminder that driving should be about connection, not computation. Porsche could have easily added electric motors or turbos, but instead, they gave us a car that stays true to its roots while pushing engineering boundaries in every other direction. Out on the open road, the GT3 S feels alive in a way that's becoming increasingly rare. There's an honesty to its behavior. Every input, every vibration, every sound is a direct conversation between you and the car. It's the last chapter of an era that values mechanical purity over digital control. The throttle response is razor-sharp. The balance through fast sweepers feels supernatural. And that flat six symphony? It's the kind of sound that makes your pulse race long after the drive is over. Safety features haven't been ignored either. Porsche loaded the GT3 S with a subtle layer of assistance tech, adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, and stability management. But all of it can be dialed back or turned off completely. Because the true safety here comes from control. The car communicates so clearly that you always know what it's doing, giving you the confidence to explore its limits responsibly. The GT3 S isn't trying to be comfortable, flashy, or futuristic. It's trying to be perfect, in balance, in response, in emotion. It's a car that takes decades of racing DNA and distills it into something you can drive to work on Monday and to the racetrack on Saturday. It's Porsche's way of saying, we still build them like we used to, just better. So what's the verdict? The 2026 Porsche 911 GT3 S isn't just another high-performance car. It's a love letter to the purists. It's proof that in a world obsessed with hybrid horsepower and autonomous driving, there's still room for something raw, something mechanical, something that connects man and machine on a primal level. It's Porsche at its absolute best, disciplined, emotional, and unapologetically focused on the joy of driving. When you hear that flat six scream down the straight and feel the chassis dance beneath you through every corner, you realize this isn't just the future of Porsche performance, it's the preservation of a legacy. The 911 GT3 S reminds the world that driving isn't about getting somewhere. It's about feeling everything along the way.